Ever notice how some of the scariest parts of games, well, they aren't the jump scares,
Right.
it's that creeping dread.
Yeah.
That's what we're diving into today.
Okay.
Mission 6 of Alien Isolation,
Uh-uh.
set in the medical facility.
Right.
We're using this video breakdown you sent to dissect what makes this mission, well, scary.
Oh, absolutely. And you're right. It's like the psychology of fear that really gets you.
Right from the start, it sends you back to the medical facility, which is somewhere you've been before.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how our own memories can make things scarier.
Exactly. It's not just that the place is more dangerous now, though it is.
Right.
It's that you, playing as Amanda Ripley, you remember it as, well, safer, maybe even a little hopeful from earlier in the game.
Yeah.
That contrast, how it betrays what you remember, it's really unsettling.
It's like the game knows how to push your buttons before anything even happens.
Yeah.
And speaking of unsettling, the source mentions they really crank up the atmosphere this time around in the medical facility.
Right.
Dim lighting, equipment left everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
The works.
Yeah.
For those who haven't played, picture a derelict spaceship,
Okay.
like the Nostromo
Mm-hmm.
from the first Alien.
Right.
But now imagine it as an abandoned hospital.
And the game, it uses those fears we already have brilliantly. Hospitals, they're supposed to be about healing.
Yeah.
But when they're left like this, abandoned,
Right?
they become something else.
Right.
Sterile, cold, full of, well, the ghosts of people suffering.
And if the atmosphere wasn't enough this time, the medical facility throws everything at you.
Oh, yeah.
You've got the alien, obviously, but also those malfunctioning working Joes.
Right.
Those creepy androids, you can never predict what they'll do.
Yeah.
You might remember them from earlier, but there's something you have to watch out for in the medical facility. Their patrol routes, they're more complex.
So-
The source mentioned that they will cut you off if you just stick to the main corridors.
It's a great example of how Alien Isolation uses, well, AI, basically, to make the tension higher. Those working Joes, they're this constant threat.
Yeah.
So you have to think strategically about every move you make. Can't just run and hide. You got to use the environment to your advantage.
Speaking of tension, the game doesn't just throw enemies at you.
Yeah.
It makes you solve puzzles too, right?
Right.
And not just random ones, these puzzles, they're integrated into survival. The source mentioned needing passcodes to unlock doors, rerouting power.
And those puzzles, they aren't just there to slow you down. They make you vulnerable. Think
Yeah.
about it. You're trying to solve this wiring puzzle. Your heart's pounding because, well, the alien could be right around the corner, and then you hear it,
What?
that beep
No.
from the motion tracker.
Okay, now you're just trying to scare me.
Yeah.
And it's working.
I mean,
But that's what this game does so well. It's not about cheap scares. It's about that feeling of pressure, that psychological pressure. It
Yeah.
sustains it. And those puzzles, they can really make you attract some unwanted attention, huh?
yeah, exactly. You might need to get to a terminal, right? Whether it's
Yeah.
all lit up or
Right.
you got to make a noise to, distract one of those working Joes, but then that could,
Oh, I see.
bring the alien closer. So it's like this.
A trade-off.
Yeah, this risk.
Yeah.
Every time. It keeps you on edge.
And speaking of on edge, let's talk about the climax of Mission 6. So you find the med kit, finally,
Okay.
which you'd think relief, right?
Right.
But no.
It gets worse.
It kicks off this whole escape sequence, even more chaotic.
It's funny, it's a classic horror thing,
Yeah.
but it works every time. The game messes with what you expect. You're conditioned to think, okay, key item, now I'm safe. But alien, isolation, no, it just gets more intense.
It's like the game punishes you for thinking you're safe, even for a second. The source, they really get into how this escape ramps up the pressure.
Because now it's not just surviving. You got to escape with this thing.
The med kit.
Yeah, the med kit, which represents hope, right? Like a chance to actually make it. And the game is just throwing everything at you
Yeah.
to take that away.
And I guess the level design plays a part in this too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
We talked about those corridors, the lights.
Yeah.
Does it actually change during this escape, or is it more like how you see it? Because you're freaking out.
That's a good question. It gets to how Alien Isolation mixes the level design with the, messing with your head.
Right.
While the place itself, it doesn't really change.
Yeah.
How you experience it, that's what changes. the stakes are higher, right? So your senses are heightened. Every little shadow, every sound the station makes,
Yeah.
it's louder. Like the game knows you're on edge.
So it's not just like the enemies themselves, or even what you're trying to do. It's the
Yeah.
whole atmosphere. Yeah, just makes everything more tense.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what makes this Mission 6 so good. Real survival horror. It gets that fear, true fear. It's not just being chased, you know? It's feeling hunted. Like even when you think you're safe, something's out there.
And the level design, like we said, that plays a big part, right? Almost like it's another character.
Oh, totally. The medical facility, think about it. Narrow halls, lights going crazy, rooms just left how they were. It's all designed to make you feel, well, weak, alone.
Yeah.
Limits what you could see, right?
Yeah.
So you feel like you're being watched, but
Yeah.
can't see who's doing it, never sure what's around the corner. And
Yeah.
that's scary.
And it all goes back to that thing we talked about, how it takes what's familiar and makes it scary.
Right, right.
You've been to the medical facility before. You think, okay, I got this. But the game, it finds ways to still mess with you.
It uses that, yeah, how you expect to be safe in a hospital. We think healing, order, all that. But alien, isolation, nah. The medical facility is the opposite.
Yeah.
Decay,
Yeah.
danger. That throws you off big time.
Makes you think about how much work went into each part, huh? The enemies, the puzzles, even just how the environment looks, it all adds up. Creates this experience you don't forget.
Shows how powerful games can be when they use our own fears against us.
Totally. So next time you're playing Alien, Isolation,
Yeah.
and you end up back at the medical facility for Mission 6, remember this conversation.
Yeah.
Pay attention to the details, how the enemies move, how the puzzles work, how the place looks. That's what makes it scary, not just some cheap jump scare. Might change how you see horror games forever.
Don't forget to listen to your motion tracker, just in case.
Okay, now that's nightmare fuel. But on that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive into the horrors of Mission 6. Thanks for joining us exploring Sevastopol. And we'll leave you with this. How much of our fear is it stuff we don't know? Or is it the stuff we know but twisted into something bad? Until next time.